Alrighty. We are up. Let's see. Let me go in and settings, notifications, turn this off. Alrighty. Hello, people. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna give like 5 minutes and see if anyone else jumps on, and then yeah, don't mind my information that just got showed. I don't care. Yeah, I'm gonna see if anyone else joins, and give it like 5 minutes and we'll get started. Hello, thank you for joining. We are just waiting on a couple more people to join. We'll see how much better I like this than Twitch. So far, I already like the interface better than Twitch for streaming. Much better. Yeah. Except YouTube's telling me my resolution isn't optimal, which I already know, but that's fine. I just need a new monitor and a new computer, really. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and get started because I was already working on this prior to jumping in the stream. So what I'm going to be working on today is kind of a soft port of this tool called Playwright. It's like Puppeteer, Selenium, all that fun stuff. Well, actually, it's not like Selenium. It's very much like Puppeteer, actually made by the same people that made Puppeteer, which is a Node.js. This is actually like primarily JavaScript and TypeScript. Yeah. Hey, Scott. Good to see you in the chat. So yeah, I'm going to be working on porting this to Crystal. Right now, I already have what's in Marionette. I already have this, which was kind of I didn't really port anything in specific with this. I took a look at Firefox's code because I didn't know when I chose the name, but Firefox actually their protocol is called Marionette for controlling their headless browser. And it's not anywhere near as powerful as the DevTools protocol. It utilizes what's it called? They mention it down here. WebDriver. It utilizes WebDriver on the back, so it's powerful, but there's still a lot that Chrome Headless can do with the DevTools protocol that you cannot do with WebDriver, because the DevTools protocol actually gives you access to the full DevTools everything. So you can not only inject JavaScript and everything, you can do debugging, and hook into that. You can watch the network stuff, and you can export HAR files and just all kinds of crazy stuff that you can do with the DevTools protocol that you can't do with WebDriver. So that's my goal behind this, my ambition, and I'm going to get started. I actually already got started. Go back in here. Got started with this file just because this seemed like one of the easiest files to port. If I go down here, yes, keyboard layout. I don't know how relevant this file even is, but I figured it would be one of the easiest things to port because it's basically just a lot of find and replace after a copy paste. So, good thing is, Puppeteer, which this is somewhat based off of, is just written in like pure JavaScript, whereas Playwright is written in TypeScript. So that's going to make the porting to Crystal a tad bit easier because we've got access to all of those types where you normally wouldn't in JavaScript. So I've got keyboard layout taken care of. They've got a types.ts file where they did a lot of type definitions, and I'm going to go ahead and port some things out of this as well. If nothing else, then doing like named tuples and stuff for some of these things, because it's good to have everything typed as much as possible. Yeah, we've got 3 viewers now. Welcome, welcome. I'm doing some porting of JavaScript to Crystal, which is not a 1-to-1. It's not even like a 1-to-5. It's JavaScript is very difficult to port to a typed language. So we're gonna do some stuff like alias, size. We're gonna give it a named tuple. We've got a width and 32 height and 32. Hopefully they are using whole numbers and not floats, otherwise I'm going to need to go and change this. We've got point. That's one of the problems with like even TypeScript is they don't differentiate between one type of number and another, so it's kind of just a guessing game. So we got X and Y. Rectangle is... I didn't realize you could combine types like that in TypeScript. That's kind of cool. So a rect is kind of a combination of the two of these. So let's just copy this part in. That's going to be rect. And then a quad is going to be 4 points. What DE is this? This is actually GNOME. I reinstalled Fedora recently, and GNOME is just what it comes with by default, so I did a little bit of tweaking, but yeah, for the most part it's just standard GNOME. I installed what's this tweak called? Extensions, dash to panel, which is why I've got the dash down here. Instead of having it pop up like on the side here when you open up the task view. Yeah, it's nice. So for a quad, I could either do a named tuple with like x1, y1, x2, y2, or I could just make this an actual tuple, which I think is what I'm gonna do. Yeah. I cannot type to save my life today. I was having troubles on my earlier stream, having troubles on this stream. Yeah, JS is massively difficult to port. Even to other untyped like dynamic languages like Python, just because JavaScript is capable of doing so many dark magical things at runtime that you can't get away with in a lot of other languages. Yeah, it really is kind of a pain in the butt. And big truck going by. That's loud. Live on quite a busy hill, and you wouldn't think it would be so busy, but for all of these things for now, I'm just going to leave them. A lot of them are just options, which we're not going to handle this way. So yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'm just gonna have these types for now. Now let's see what else. What else will be easy to port from the beginning. I like working things from like the very, very top down, like easiest things to just get out of the way first. So their custom error type I don't really need to worry about. All it looks like it's really doing is capturing the stack trace. Don't care about that. Accessibility. Okay, this is interesting. So we've got some types. Yeah. Oh man. I like TypeScript okay, but the extra complexity it throws on top of everything with certain different things that you can do, and like being able to kind of define types on the fly like this instead of actually defining an actual interface, and just all of that is super difficult to deal with. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about this right now. Accessibility seems like one of those things that can probably wait until the end. Dialog, frames input, JavaScript, page screenshotter, timeout settings, transport. Now I know from my other project that transport is probably going to be one of the big things we have to worry about. Because the transport is going to be what everything goes through. So let's see, we got a connection transport, that's just an interface. Then we got slow-mo transport, which has a wrap, on message, on close, send, close. This transport also has send and close. On message and on close both just do nothing. And then this is not a transport. So it looks like for transports we need an abstract type that has on message, on close, send, and close. Yes. Interesting thing is that they're not using actual on message. This is the thing that the thing about JavaScript as opposed to Crystal that drove me away from porting Puppeteer in the beginning is that like JavaScript is very very evented, like event-based language. You have the event what's it called, event emitter. That's what it is. So you have like event emitter, and then you've got all kinds of things that you can do with this. You can add listeners, and you can subscribe to events, and you can use like .once, and just all this crazy stuff. And Crystal just does not have that. It's one of those things that works really well in a dynamic language like JavaScript, because with these event emitters you can send anything you want, and it doesn't matter what it is. You can send an object, you can send a number. It doesn't matter what the object looks like. It just doesn't matter. And here in Crystal, we have to know the types of things at compile time. Like you can't just say, okay, I'm gonna send anything into this proc that is an event handler. The proc has to know the type of the object that's coming in, and that makes it a huge pain. So yeah, one thing. Nope, where is it? See if that pulls up the. Oh. Nope, I do not want to do that. Here we go. So we'll give a shout out to Papier Corb, or however you pronounce his GitHub name. He created this library called Qt, which is based on inspired by the Qt framework's event handling system. And it does work pretty well for event handling. So you create like these signals, and you give it a name, and you say what it's going to do, and then you can attach to those signals, and that way you know exactly what's coming in, and you can emit things to those signals. It's not near as flexible as what JavaScript has, but it's a pretty handy library. I actually used it recently and just dropped it in and followed the examples or the samples that he has here, and it just worked. And that was pretty nice, because things, especially in like a lesser known language like Crystal, where things aren't updated all the time, like packages aren't updated all the time, and this one even, you can see it hasn't had an update in 3-4 years. Well, 2 years if you talk about the shard.yaml, but it still works. The only thing broken in it that I was able to tell is like one spec that's just an API, like the time API that was updated recently. Anyway, but I'm rambling. Let's get back into this. So this is something that we're going to need. We're going to need a transport.cr. I decided to call this project Dolly, which is kind of like Puppeteer was called Puppeteer, and then they've got Playwright, and they've got Marionette, and so I just kind of wanted to keep with the theme. And so those are all like having to do with puppets or dolls, and so I'm calling this Dolly. That's why I picked that specific name. It's also nice and short. I like Marionette. Very long. Dolly, nice and short. And I like that. So we're going to create an abstract class called transport. And yeah, so it looks like this is the interface for a transport. And all it has is send, close, on message, and on close, which is a pretty simple interface. So abstract def send, and send takes a... See, this is one case where TypeScript really does make things so much easier, because I've got these types here of like protocol request and protocol response, and I'm able to just do it. In fact, I think that I can do this if I make protocol request a named tuple. I can't guarantee that this will work because I haven't actually tried this. Yeah, Papier Corb is definitely not super active anymore, which is somewhat disappointing. I will say, like, he has kind of an abrasive personality. I I submitted a pull request to one of his projects like 2 years ago, just trying to update things and make things a little bit more crystally, like kind of follow guidelines that they put down for like how Crystal should be written. And I submitted the pull request, and he kind of went off on me. He's like, I don't see why this is necessary. This is stupid. Why is this necessary? Like, why are you assuming to know what's right for my project? I'm like, dude, you can just say no. It's not like I'm going to have my feelings hurt if you say that that something isn't necessary. But sheesh, you can just say it. Anyway, but that being said, he's a great developer and has a couple good projects that I use quite a bit. I think the project that I was trying to help with was his dbus interface, and I made good use of that, and then I've used Qt, which is nice. Hello, Wilson. How's it going? Thanks for joining. Okay, so let's do this interface. I do want to check if this is even going to work. So let's go to Karkin and see if this type of thing will even work. So I want to create an alias. Actually, that's basically what I'm doing right now, Wilson. Asked if I plan on making a port of Puppeteer to Crystal. So Playwright is basically like the new evolution of Puppeteer. It's more powerful, and so that's what I'm doing right now. I've got a project already called Marionette, which is very similar, but it only supports Firefox and uses the WebDriver protocol, where this project, Playwright, uses the DevTools API, and so I'm attempting to do that. So we'll see how well I do. I gave up last time I tried to port Puppeteer just because of how difficult it is to port JavaScript. Yeah, I figured it was lagging pretty far behind the chat. I've got the stream open next to me. I've got the stream showing, and it's definitely like a good 30 seconds behind, which is crazy. It's my stream status is showing is healthy. It's not showing as excellent anymore, but YouTube's not giving me the option to select a stream latency, and I don't know if that's because I didn't do it before I started, or hater. But yeah, the stream is definitely lagging like a good 30 seconds behind the like real time, which is pretty crappy, but nothing I can do about it right now. My internet quality is pretty good. I think it's just the internet in general and YouTube limiting things. So, but Hater, I will probably work some more on Tourmaline tomorrow. I worked on it a little bit today already, and there's a video on YouTube of that stream, which was through Twitch. I just wanted to take a chance to try out YouTube streaming and see how it works. Can the delay be set in OBS? I will have to try that next time. So let's try this out. I want to see if I can do this and if it'll work. So we're gonna do the standard foobar, and we're gonna say named tuple, and we're gonna say A is int32, B is int32 question mark, and C is gonna be a string, and then we're gonna say def bar, and then try to splat this and say that it's of type foo, and then I just want to do that, and then what we're going to do is say I actually don't think this is going to work. So we're gonna say A is 12 and give it C and leave out B. I don't think this is going to compile. Is it? No, okay. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to work. It would be nice, but no overload matches bar and 32C string. Now, what I could probably do that might work, actually it's not going to work either, more than likely, is just try and splat a named tuple like this. Or actually just hand it a named tuple, I should say. Yeah, that's not going to work either. It's disappointing. Oh well. I had a inkling that that was not going to work. So what we're going to have to do then is either actually have this accept a protocol request object. This is the live action version of God, I hope this works. I think that's any live coding stream. Like it's especially in like conference talks and stuff. It's like, well, I'm gonna pray to the demo gods and hope this works. At least I don't have to worry about that. I'm talking to 4 people, not a room of 300. So, what's the best way to do this then? Because they're able to give a like type saying that this is what this accepts. I cannot do this in Crystal, but my options here are either to have a protocol request and just have this accept a protocol request, which is perfectly reasonable. they could create a protocol request and then pass it in, or I could have each of these fields actually be a field inside of the method. And I think I'm going to opt for option A, because then that means I've got this object to pass around. I may regret this in the future. It's not quite necessary to have a class. I actually am going to not make this an alias to a named tuple. I am going to make it a record, which is a struct. Just a special syntax for defining a struct that already has like an initializer and getters and setters. I'm just going to copy this over, and we're going to call this a protocol request, and give it these, and then I'm going to take, let's see, number, change it to int 32, these strings I need to upcase. Oh. No. Damn TypeScript. Why? Just why? Why have any? If you're going to have a typed language, you should not have any. I'm going to make this a array string for now. I don't actually know what it should be, but that is that's what I'm going to go with. And then that should be nillable. Yep, nope, that's not going to work. And then we're going to take both of these guys. Let's see. And do that. I need commas. And there we go. Actually, that's not going to work either. There we go. Yeah, that is one way you can handle any, that's for sure. The other option is to use like JSON any, which I try to avoid, but I have done in the past. I'm sure that like if I search, yeah, JSON any in here, yep, look at that right there, params JSON any. So yeah, that's always an option. The other option is just have it be a string. Of course it's snake case. This is Crystal. The other option is to just have it be a string and then like parse it, but yeah. We'll see what I actually need when the time comes. For now, let's also get this protocol response object and do all of these ones. Session ID, proxy ID. I have to say though, like so far I am liking the YouTube stream experience much better. This dashboard is much more intuitive. I don't know about this error type. I'm just going to comment it out for now. I don't want to deal with it. Oh, fuck a duck. There. Generics. How about that? Take that, go. And then params, will just do the same thing here. I don't know. Okay, so send, which takes a protocol request, returns nothing. We got close, which returns nothing. On message, which this is gonna take a block which receives a protocol response. Ah, shit. I can't use generic here. We're just gonna give a string result for now, and we'll figure that out later. So on message is gonna take a block which takes a protocol response, and then on close is also going to take a block, but it's going to be, I don't know if that'll even work, like syntax wise, but it's getting nothing and it's returning nothing, so it should work. Okay, that's a transport. We got slow-mo transport. We got what's the other one? Defer write transport. Those really are only options for transports, or a slow-mo and defer write. There ought to be a like normal transport, right? I guess not though. Let's go ahead and though make this connection transport, and that way if I do end up defining like a standard transport, it doesn't that name's not already taken. Okay, slow-mo transport. We've got a delay, delegates everything to connection transport. This is really weird. I don't know why they didn't just like extend the connection transport interface instead of doing this. I'm sure that there's some TypeScripty reason behind that. So we're gonna do getter. It's gonna be private, and getter delay. So I don't know why they're even making this private. Like, it's passed in right here. May as well make it public. Give it an int32. Let's see. This is the wrap method. Does this have a wrap method? It does not. What is the purpose of the wrap method? Oh. Crap. My microphone fell. Okay, so wrap allows you to take in another connection transport and then wrap it with a slow-mo transport, basically just delegate methods to that transport and then return that transport. Okay. Certainly possible. So we've got delay, we've got delegate, which is this guy. We're not doing that, so we're going to do initialize. Oh, I don't have any of the snippets that I'm used to. Okay, so in this case, initialize is just going to take a delay. Let's see. Getting reports in a Telegram group. That's always fun. Okay. So we're going to take in a delay. It's creating transport, delegate on message. It's delegating things to that. This actually might be harder than I thought to create the wrapper, because you know what? I don't even know what these are doing right now, so let's move to something else that I can actually get working. So if we go to Playwright and go down to the documentation here, a simple example here is taking, requiring Playwright. It's taking each browser type. Browser equals await Playwright browser type dot launch. So that's where we've got like 3 different browsers here. Okay, import browser from browser. That is probably where I should be starting, really. Browser. Or browser context. Browser extends event emitter. Oh man, guys. This is a nightmare. So here's the browser context. Oh, come on. OBS is giving me all kinds of grief here. Okay, so we got browser context options. JavaScript enabled, user agent, those are all typical. We got browser context itself. Browser context base extends event emitter, implements browser context. Okay, this makes sense. So browser context, these are going to be all the abstract methods that I need, it looks like. And then browser context base is going to be my abstract class browser context. Those are all the abstract options, abstract types. And then, yeah, let's just do this. So, browser context module. Oop. Dolly. Alrighty. Then these are going to be the options that it takes in the constructor. It's all well and good. So all of these are also going to probably be class variables. So let's go ahead and do that. And should I make those properties? Yeah. Let's make them properties. All of them are optional for whatever reason, but we're going to give them default options. Let's Screaming Snake, lowercase. Okay. So types.size, what was that? Let's see, size. Right here. Okay, yeah. So I'm taking in a size or null, so we know that this is nillable. And you got ignore HTTPS errors, bool false. Well, actually, let's not set any defaults here, but that's going to be a bool. That's going to be a bool. It's going to be a string. Okay, so there's another type that I need that's over here. Is the geolocation type. So let's take that and put it in here. IAS. So geolocation is going to be a named tuple. And 32. Accuracy is nillable. Actually, I don't know why I'm doing named tuple. I keep doing this. Do instead record geolocation. This is better. And that way I can default this to nil. Alrighty, and now I can use it over here. Extra HTTP headers, it's doing network.headers. We're just going to use HTTP. Let's see, where's it? HTTP headers, yeah. Oh, if only I hadn't forgotten the extra T. That's going to be bool. This is going to be the credentials type, whatever that is. Just a username and password. Yeah, sure. So I got username, Oh yeah, I forgot this. So username and password. And then we got device scale factor. Bool. Bool. Okay, there's all our properties for browser context. Now the actual context itself. Copy this whole thing in. These are all going to be abstract. And get rid of the damn semicolon. I don't even use semicolons when I use JS. I'm definitely not using them in Crystal. Is that default? Let's go fix the case of all of these. Okay. Now everything that ends with a void, I can just remove it. Any place where I have number, I can just give it an int 32, even though that'll probably change. We array page. We don't have promises in Crystal, so none of that crap. This is going to return a cookie. Actually, I need to go fix the spacing on all of these. So HTTP cookie, I believe, is where it's at. Yeah. Although, no, this is going to return HTTP cookies, which is its own type. Add cookies is going to... Can you hear my cat munching on her food over there? Yeah, so all of the promised voids can also be removed because, once again, Crystal doesn't have promises. These are going to be sync operations unless they choose to make them async. 32, don't need any of these. All right, so cookies is going to take URLs, which is going to be string or array string, and it's going to return cookies. Add cookies, network, that's set network cookie params. So it's going to be over here in network. Set network cookie params. Okay, yeah, so this is literally just a cookie. And is it taking an array of them? Yes, it is. So, oh, come on. It's going to take an array HTTP cookie, clear cookies, grant permissions. Okay. Crystal has an implementation of promises that sucks. Well, it's not terrible, but it's not JavaScript promises. They're very different. I tried to make an implementation of promises that's closer to like the actual promise spec, and follows a little bit more closely to. Glad you couldn't hear my cat. Yeah, yeah, Crystal's the promise implementations that exist in Crystal right now are not great, and I doubt they're going to be great until unless the core devs actually decide that promises are something that we could have in the standard library, which I don't see happening. So yeah. Give that an array string, and then I don't know why they do an options object like this, and why not just actually take origin as a parameter, but whatever. So I'm gonna do that, and actually give that a default as well. And then set geolocation, which takes a geolocation or null, so it's going to be that. Headers, that's something else that HTTP has already. Headers. You didn't know about record, Wilson? Yeah, record's pretty cool. It's just a macro. You can find it, I think, in the top level namespace here. If you look at the actual source for it, all it is a macro. It defines a struct. All it takes each of the properties and creates a getter for it, and creates a default initializer, and then adds some methods like copy with and clone. Yeah, it's pretty handy. And it also accepts a block, and then whatever you put inside the block gets yielded right here. So you can do everything that you'd normally do with a struct. It's just a really easy way to create a type that conforms to a specific shape. So you don't have to use named tuples, because named tuples are kind of a pain in the butt to deal with. So set offline bool, HTTP credentials is going to take a credentials, add init script. Oh, you were referring to futures? No, futures, those not even close to being promises. Futures are also a massive pain in the butt to deal with, and very undocumented. So that's all the documentation you get for future. And the problem is waiting for them. So with a promise, it's really easy to say, okay, this is do something. My method is going to return a promise, and then if you're running inside of an async method, you can just await it and wait for it to finish and then do something. With futures, there's no way to await them, at least not that I've found. You can use get, but then get blocks everything. Yeah, I highly recommend not using named tuples. So do the core devs. You're not supposed to. They're not meant to really be used outside of like accepting a named tuple in a method, and then you take that named tuple and like convert it into a hash or something. It's highly discouraged to use them in any way other than that. So add init script. I'm wondering what this actually does. And this is where we go and see if they've actually got any good documentation. Looks like they don't have a wiki. API, here we go. Oh boy, this is massive. Okay, and what's it called? Add init script. So the script is a function, script to be evaluated in all pages in the browser context. So you can also give a path to a JavaScript file or the raw script content. Okay, so this seems like something, yeah, preload.js. So this gets automatically, it's a JavaScript file that gets automatically loaded into every page, basically. So here, when they say it's a function, that's because you can actually accept a JavaScript function here. We can't accept a JavaScript function because we're not actually running in JavaScript, but we can give it either a string or a hash or a named tuple. Oops, fucked up. So we're going to give a string, hash, named tuple, and then we'll just kind of figure it out based on the context. And then arg question mark serializable optional argument to pass to the script, only supported when passing a function. Okay, so that we don't really have to worry about because once again we're not passing in a JavaScript function, and that needs to be uppercased. Expose function. Figure out what that does. Back up. Okay. Expose function. Name of the function on the window object. Callback function that will be called in Playwright's context. Adds a function called name on the window object of every frame and every page in the context. When called, the function executes Playwright function in NodeJS and returns a promise, which resolves to a return value of Playwright function. Expose function, MD5, text, crypto, create hash, MD5 updated, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's just adding a function to the browser context. I wonder if I could do something like this and have it accept a block and then call the crystal function every time. I'm going to try. So we're going to accept a block here. And then that is going to be executed every time. The only problem is I don't really have a way to be able to pass arguments into that block unless I don't know. I'm just gonna do this for now, and then we'll figure it out later. So URL types.url match, which yeah, looks like I need another tab. So the URL match type is just going to be string regex or a actual URL, which I can do the same thing. So string regex or a URI. I'm realizing I'm going to need up here to require HTTP and URI, not UTI. I do not require a UTI. That would be not a fun thing to have. And then handler is going to be network dot, what is it, route handler. As you can see, porting JavaScript is massive pain in the ass. Where do they define? Guess it's not an interface. It's a type. Okay. So it's a proc. This is actually going to be pretty easy. I thought this was going to end up being a pain. So it's a function that takes a route and a request and returns nothing. So so handler is going to be a block route. I don't actually have these types yet, but request and nothing. And then wait for event. Oh boy. Whew, no. Okay, this one we're gonna just comment out for right now because I don't even know how I'm gonna go about that. Okay, so there's our abstract types for the browser context. Now to deal with the parts that aren't abstract. So browser context options, read-only page bindings, options, routes, close promise, close. Sorry for the loud noise, cat. Okay. Oh. Interesting. So they've got this, but then they've also got them actually defined as abstract methods here, and it looks like some of these are not abstract. So that is not. I've got a feeling these are actually going to be defined in here though, so I'm not going to actually delete them. So that's not abstract. Actually, let's just remove the abstract from them. Oops, not that. There we go. So neither of those are abstract. Oh, did it again. So we've got pages, new page, cookies, add cookies. These are private methods that need to be abstract, apparently. So we'll put these down here. Can you have a private abstract def, or is it abstract private def? I feel like private should always go first. And we're going to say do grant permissions and do clear permissions. And then both are returning promise void. I can get rid of that. And so we got an origin string and permissions, which is a array string. And then that. Okay. Set geolocation. So, oh, I actually already. Okay, so these do not need to be abstract then. Move them up here with these guys. Okay, so then we've got set geolocation, set HTTP credentials. There it is. Set extra HTTP headers, set offline, add a net script, expose function, route, close. And then, so wait for event is not part of one of these, it's down here. Okay. Man. Oh. Okay. So we've got a initialize method, and this is what's going to take the browser context options. So I'm going to need these. Oops. Up. Okay, so viewport will either be size, let's see. And it's passing them as an options object for. I'm gonna make these all actual instance variables. Okay, ignore. Let's see. Pool. Yep. Geolocation. HTTP headers, credentials, and 32. and so it's going to be false, false, false. User agent. I need to do like a default user agent. Or actually, oh, there goes my microphone again. I really need a desk, guys. I'm working on it, but unfortunately with the whole coronavirus shit, like there's someone with a desk that I could get for free that's really close to me. That's actually a pretty decent desk, but they're not really willing to deliver, and I don't have a truck to pick it up with, and yeah, it's a whole thing. How am I going to set a default user agent here? Yep, go away, kitty. I'm going to make it an empty string for now. It's not actually what we're going to do, but it's just an easier way to handle these. Geolocation is going to be nil. Permissions is going to be string. Extra HTTP headers going to be nil. False. Credentials. Device scale factor should be 1 by default. Is mobile should be false, and has touch should also be false. Okay. It's just kind of a rule of thumb when you are creating default values. That any Boolean value should default to false, and if it doesn't make sense defaulted to false, with the way that you have your variable worded, it should probably be worded differently. It's just what I've learned anyway. Okay. My kit's over there sneezing. Poor kitty. She's got allergies. Okay, so that's the initialize method, and then so it sets options to options, and then sets close promise to this. I'm not even gonna bother with right now. And then we've got some other instance variables that are read-only. Read-only is something that Crystal does not have. But that's okay. So we got timeout settings. We're going to put these down here. Timeout settings, it's going to be of type timeout settings, and then we'll just actually set it in here. And page bindings. Fun part is that you never quite know if something is going to work or not when you're at this stage. Page bindings is going to be a hash of string to page binding, whatever that is. Options, we just set routes. I actually feel like I should probably play around with Playwright a little bit and figure it out. The cool thing about doing this in Crystal as opposed to Node is that it's portable. You know, if I compile this, then I can go run it on another machine that doesn't have Crystal, provided it has the correct static libraries installed. NodeJS, I'd have to make sure the other machine has Node installed, and it's also a bit more memory heavy. So routes is going to be an array of this URL. I'm going to put that over here in types. Give it a URL. Let me string regex or URI, and handler is going to be route handler. Oh, I just realized none of these are inside of a module. Module dolly. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be a array of, what did I call it? Route. Actually, shouldn't be doing the defaulting in here. Close promise, fulfill, and permissions. Okay. And we can actually go put these down here. So I got page bindings defaults to hash of string to page binding. Strictly speaking, this isn't necessary as long as I set all of these in here. I just do this for clarity's sake. So you can look right above the initialize method and see all of the instance variables. Options don't need routes. And closed is false, and permissions. Oh, permissions is a hash. So it's a hash string array string. Okay. One thing that I don't like is that it doesn't say on the YouTube streaming dashboard how long you've been streaming for so far. It looks like I'm at about 46 minutes though. You continue for like another somewhere between 15 and 45 minutes, and then my wife's taking a nap and I've got to wake her up and Gotta do something for dinner. Getting hungry. Okay. So we've got all that. We've got the initializer. So browser closed is a private method that goes through all of the pages and runs page underscore did close and then runs page did close internal. Let's go ahead and create a method like that. I like keeping private methods down here at the bottom. Public methods on top. Don't know why. Oh, has it been 84 minutes so far? Okay. It's showing, all it shows me in my dashboard is like average watch time, which is at 46 minutes right now. Which is actually kind of impressive considering this is a live coding stream and they're not insanely interesting. But yeah, 84 minutes. I'm gonna keep going for another 15, and then I'll end this so that I can eat and wake my wife up. She told me not to let her sleep for too long. So hopefully you've learned something anyway. You definitely learned that I'm bad at typing. Browser closed, and I'm gonna do pages. Okay, yeah. So pages.each do. Oop. Why isn't it letting me type? There we go. Page. What the fuck is going on there? Okay. Page did close, and then down here we run did close internal. I'm probably like I'm trying to get forgot to make this actual method. When I'm porting things like this, just trying to do like a straight port, I want to get things to a working state somewhat. I will be posting this code to GitHub, yes. I can't guarantee when, but it'll be on my GitHub profile under Dolly. Dolly's the name of the project. I want to try and get something kind of working before I actually post the code. So hopefully next few days. Okay. Private def did close internal. Why does it keep doing that? Closed true. And then this is where we start getting into events. So this is a good time to add Qt and start using it. Show.yaml go Qt and actually I'm going to use my fork because in my fork I actually fixed the spec. I'm waiting for a pull request to get merged and it hasn't been merged yet. Okay, so that is installed. Run shards install here. Okay. So this is going to emit events browser context.close. So what I need is up here. Well, actually, really, we're going to be using Qt all over the place, so I'm going to import it here. I'm going to require Qt. And then in here, so we've got properties. got these instance variables, and then I think I'm going to do right under initialize is where I'm going to define events. So, pretty sure we need to create a signal. Let's go to their simple example. So I'm going to create a cute signal, and we're going to say closed. And that's actually going to be it, I think. Because it's not going to actually take anything. Let's give it a comment closed event. And then here on did close internal, all we have to do is say this self.closed.emit, and that should emit the closed event. And then closed promise fulfill, not going to worry about that. Alrighty. Moving on, actually these ones are not going to be private, so I'm going to put them up here. Actually, I think I've already got them defined here. So grant permissions. What's this doing? So you got permissions as an array, a string array. Got origin. The origin equals star if options on options.origin URL equals new URL options.origin. Oh, if options and options.origin. Okay. So I'm going to make it so that origin should be able to be a string or a URI, because that is it's a URL. Yeah, although, yeah. Okay, so we're going to say origin. Yeah, actually, we're going to say if origin I need to get the other crystal plugin. This is just ridiculous. I don't like this one. Do not recommend. This one is just the better plugin. Handles things so much better. Okay, so if options.origin, we're going to say URL equals origin equals URL.origin. Do URIs have an origin in Crystal? Actually, can't even think about what the origin would be. No, they do not. So what the hell is an origin in a JavaScript URL? It's time to see. Let's open up the console. Clear out all this nonsense. Okay, we're gonna say const URL equals URI. Well, no, new URI. Google. Oh, right. That's a URL. No, that's not. Okay, so they've got their own URL type. I thought that JavaScript had something, but apparently it doesn't. So they're using their own URL type, which where is it? Is it Node? Ah, okay. That's why. New URL. So the origin is just the base, I guess. Slash Watson slash Dolly. Oh, I guess I've got I fucked up. Don't actually need to use that anyway. Yeah. So the origin is like the base path, which I believe. Ooh, my stomach is rumbling. So I guess the origin is like a combination of the scheme and the host. It might be a good idea to have this in Crystal. Just have like the base path here, but we don't. So I've got to actually build it. Okay, so we're gonna say URL equals URI.new. Actually, URI.parse, I believe. If I'm not incorrect here. Yes, URI.parse origin, and then say origin equals it's gonna be scheme URL dot scheme : URL dot host. That should be right. We're going to say else origin is star. Do I not have ICR installed? Could have sworn I had ICR installed. Let's make sure I'm in the right place. I am. Okay. Guess I never installed ICR. Okay. This should work. And then origin equals URL.origin. Existing is a new set. Permissions.get origin. That's pretty easy to do. Can actually use a set as well. Do permissions to get origin. can't remember. I never used sets really, so let's take a look at it. Set takes, yeah, it can take another indexable, so that would work. And then thank you guys for sticking around so long. It's fun to be able to show off things that I'm working on. This I like specifically planned to wait until I started streaming to really work on it. Let's see, permissions.forEach existing.add. In the case of sets in Crystal, I can just use that, but they use add as well. So permissions.each do perm. I'm going to do existing perm. Let's make sure that this is right. Permissions, yeah, they're strings. Okay. And then list is just them turning that into an array. And then they're setting, I'm going to say permissions origin equals existing to array, and then do grant permissions origin. I guess I may as well make, let's see, list equals 2a, and then that way I can use list here and here. Alrighty, that should work. And then clear permissions. It's just going to be clear and do clear permissions. I imagine that these do methods are really just like sending out an event. They're probably unnecessary, but they are abstract, so that they can be defined by the top level browser class, so I guess that makes sense. Just gives them a chance to do something when permissions are added or cleared. Set default navigation timeout. Where's it actually get referenced? This is the first place it gets referenced. And then page. This timeout settings dot set default navigation timeout. And what was timeout settings? It's a timeout settings object. We're almost done with this, so I'm just going to type this out, and then I'll deal with creating the objects that we're working on later. So timeout settings dot set default navigation timeout to timeout, and then set default timeout is going to be timeout settings dot set default timeout to timeout. And then we've just got wait for event and assert. Let's see, wait for event and assert browser context is not owned. Oh, these are outside of the object. And these ones. Wow, OBS is really wreaking hell on my window manager right now. Okay, so it looks like wait for event is the last thing that's actually needed here. And so it's returning a promise any. Options are predicate. Options are predicate function. I really have no idea what's even going on here, so this is going to stay on the back burner. Okay. So this class right here is as done as I'm going to get it right now. I'm going to have to move on to like timeout and some other classes, but I'm done for the time being. I know I said I was going to wait to get this on GitHub, but why not just do it? I'm gonna go ahead and update the README really quick. Dolly, say port of Playwright for Crystal. And then let's just copy this over. And so I'm just going to leave those there for now. And then let's create a repo for it. I'm going to do it over here. Alrighty, so we have a project on GitHub. So you can go start it and watch it all you want. And I'm going to continue working on this a little bit later. But for now, I am starving and need to wake my wife up. Oh, you know what? This does actually show the amount of time that I've been streaming. We're at an hour and 48 minutes. I just couldn't figure out where it was. So yeah, thanks for watching. Everyone who's stuck around, thank you, Wilson. Thank you, Scott. I'll see you guys back on Telegram and stuff. But thanks for hanging out. See you guys in the next one.